So,
I mean, I guess this is a minor thing, and I don't know how good we are at it. But like, are we always carrying around all of our gear? Because like, we do have a lot of stuff. Like, how
I'm good
much do
with it
we?
overall. It's the same reason for like the most basic of components for like cantrips and stuff, where unless there's a reason why you wouldn't have it on you, like you've been captured or something that really specifies you would not have your normal stuff, I'm fine with you guys not having like left things in the hotel room and having to pick it up.
Okay, that's what
Just
I
for
wanted
just
to
for
know.
ease of storytelling, I think that's fine overall. Again, there will be certain situations if you get arrested or whatever where we'll specify like, yeah, you don't have your stuff. In these cases, I think it's fine.
Okay, well then, Tessian doesn't have a problem with us heading there. He wanted a scroll case, but I suppose he can buy that in Harnstead. So.
Probably, yes. And if they have no scroll cases, then you'll know I'm just being an asshole. Oh,
Yeah,
we're
they have
all
like
out
a-
of scroll cases.
They have like a library there, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, we can go there. We'll just have to hang out for a while they send a message. But yeah, we can head straight to the center of town. I mean, we're going to miss the duel, but I guess.
Not necessarily, because it takes time to notify them anyways.
Yeah, but how close is it to 12?
It's pretty much hitting 12 on the dot. You're getting back to pretty much about where the hotel is. You're going to have to go a little bit further north to get to the center of town.
I mean, I wouldn't mind testing if you want to head over to the duel, and I will take care with the group or whoever. And Isaac would be relaying this for simplicity's sake. I'm just saying now. But if you want to head over there, and I can take care of notifying whoever I need to notify the workers here, who then, if I have that correct, we notify the workers here. They inform the workers there that it's happening, and then they get it all going.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could take the traumatized little girl to watch a little blood sport if you want. That
That's
seems like
what we're not going to do that. That's why Tessian isn't big on like we have to go. He's just a little disappointed that we're going to miss it because he does not.
It also could be a quick process. Like it could involve like a few minutes of waiting, but it doesn't. I don't mean the duel. I mean like the sending the message is relatively instant. Not that you have to leave as soon as you send it, but like you might get clearance pretty quickly. Your understanding of magic at least tells you like if they're going to send some kind of message to her, that it may not take long to get a response. So it's up to you. I would either way. Everybody, make me a perception check, please. While this is
everybody,
yeah,
or just okay.
everybody on Le Trolley. Hell, even she'll do one, even though she's engrossed in food, but at disadvantage. Yeah, no.
25. I am surprised I'm that alert right now.
A 6.
12.
big five.
17.
Isaac and Lena, as the trolley goes past Publica, which is not too far south of the center of town, so, as you're coming up north from the shopping district, past there, the two of you do see a familiar face heading inside as you drive past.
It's heading inside Publica.
Heading inside Publica.
Okay.
It's Cavus.
Okay. Shit. Okay. Did you see that, Lena?
I did.
Cavus just entered Publica. Everyone. Did he know we were here?
Tessian is like, well, yes, because I asked for him.
Did I know that you asked for him already?
No.
Okay, good.
Probably not.
Okay, perfect.
Tessian is just like, well, at the very least, I think I need to check in with him, and Tessian will move to get off the trolley if he's just kind of hopping off.
I don't think it hurts for all of us to go. If safety is our goal right now, it wouldn't hurt to go where Cavus is.
It's true.
So I kind of like hold the girl's hand, and I'm kind of like seeing like, is she good to walk on her own? I know Karash was like carrying her before, and you've said over and over like she doesn't seem like weak or beaten up, but I would still like test it.
She is a little unsteady, but certainly has the power to carry herself. And again, the sense you're getting is like she hasn't done a lot of walking around.
Yeah.
So, the muscles work. There's not that much atrophy or anything, but there is like just a bit of hesitance on her feet. And also it's just, the circumstances, but she can walk.
What is she dressed in? I've gone over this, but I missed it.
I don't know if I described that part of it. It's essentially plain not like it's not like wearing like a burlap sack or anything, but it's very plain, very affordable clothing.
Okay.
Not brightly colored, not anything fancy. It looks workman-like, essentially. She has a pair of like I did mention like overalls. She has like these greenish, like dark green overalls, and then like longer clothing underneath that.
Shoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Has shoes. Again, seems like she was taken care of about as bare minimum as possible.
So I would grab her hand and I would say, Sophia, follow me. We're going to go say hi to a friend. I think he's going to help us sort this out. We can trust this man.
And there's not a lot of hesitation on her part. And at least then no more than normal. She just says, absolutely, anywhere we have to go. This is still much better than where I was.
Okay, so I would follow Tessie in.
Okay. So as the trolley pulls up at Publica, some other people get off as well as you guys. And as you head inside, you can see Cavis with his back to you. He doesn't know you're coming, but Cavis talking to the staff at the front desk as you enter the like main huge common area.
Tessie will approach him and sort of, let's see, kind of loudly, but greet him and just be like, Cavis, good to see you. And he'll extend a hand because as much as he trusts Cavis, he's not entirely sure this is Cavis. So he actually wants to make physical contact with him and make sure it's not an illusion.
Okay. He turns around upon hearing the voice, sees you, seems hesitant to shake your hand for a second, but does so. And it is a firm handshake. His hands are bigger than yours. So it's not quite like we had, I think the last session we had somebody like engulfing Lena's hands, I think it was, not quite that, but still, like you can tell, like, and he's not trying to hurt you, but still, just by the very nature of his being, he's like, it's a little firmer than, it doesn't feel great, yeah, but he shakes your hand, seems legit, the hand is where you'd expect it to be, there's not like a veiled look to it.
And Tessie will sort of, I don't want to say like double clasp his hand, but as he's sort of like shaking it, he'll kind of pat the other hand and almost apologize, be like, as he's shaking it, and just be like, sorry, it's always so hard to tell who you can trust these days and where illusions lie. And then he'll let go of the hand.
And he says, you know, it's funny, I was thinking the same thing. It seems trouble follows your group wherever it goes, yes? And at this point, he's now kind of like canvassing the group, and he sees this girl. And he goes, is that who I think it is?
And I ask Sophia if she will stay with Grail. Sophia, we're going to talk to Cavis really quick. Will you stay with Grail? She's my good friend. She's great. You're muted.
Then I just say, I got it. I was the adults are going to have a conversation. But yeah,
talk down to a 12-year-old.
No, I was kidding.
Yeah, I know. And she's gonna acquiesce just about anything at this point since you've rescued her. She's like, yes, no problem, sure.
I kind of like take her by the arm, not like rudely, just kind of like to kind of direct her away from the conversation and kind of like crouch down, and I kind of am like, hi, like I introduce myself and I try and just like entertain her, I guess, and talk to her.
Going with them.
Okay. Isaac, Lena, Cavis,
well,
girl.
I'm gonna answer Cavis now quieter and hopefully not within earshot of Sophia, but say that is Sophia. It was Dunask. What?
Shit.
Whatever. I say Dunask.
Yeah.
I say Sophia, last name of Dunask. But something tells me you knew that already.
Samaka.
Yes.
Samaka.
I never actually put his last name with hers. It was always just a first name with hers, but I have his up there. And yep. He says, well, we've been trying to find her and others for quite some time now. Even got close on a couple of occasions, but the one time we had a really solid lead, we missed their location by hours, maybe minutes. Unfortunately, as many ears to the ground as the Crusaders have, we don't always go through the more negative channels out there, and occasionally our information's a little outdated. I know we were close at least once, but never managed to pull it off.
Cavus, there's a lot we can update you on, but I think it's urgent to see if there is a way that, and I'm bringing Tessian into the conversation of if there's a way we can notify Dunask. I feel like now that we have his daughter, his life is in imminent peril.
And he nods and he's like, we really should swap information. I would like to know more about what happened here yesterday. My subordinate sort of informed me, and I got your hint, Tessian. But like, if time is pressing, then information will have to wait. I can see about arranging contact. What should I tell him? That she's fine? Is there anything else?
I would tell him to tell him we found her. She's safe and healthy. Looks good. And I'm kind of searching for an idea, but I say maybe if he can meet us in Harnstead so that we're away from where they know his location is, and that might be a good starting point.
And Tessin kind of shakes his head. He's like, no, I think he needs to get as far away from anything around there as he can. And he needs to expedite himself from any place that your father would know about him.
Where can we go to where he can reunite with his daughter?
This is like, well, honestly, we can figure that out after the fact, when he's safe.
Fine, that makes sense. I mean, Cavus, what do you think? Maybe we tell him to just get out, don't tell us where he's going, and later we can figure out correspondence.
Yeah, Cavus kind of thinks about it. He says, that might be the safest course of action. Anything that was going to seem out of the regular might tip someone off. If it's as I've heard, and he's being monitored, any sudden changes in behavior or location could tip them off if they don't already know in that area. I mean, word can travel fast depending on the channels you have around here. If they know that... Well, let's see, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know the circumstances of how you found her. He says, if you've taken her, it's only a matter of time until someone notices. And when they do, if word spreads, he could be in danger at that time. So I would, if you can pass him a message to tell him to lay low at the very least, if he has a place to hide or people he knows, but anything's going to be risky.
If he has time to sabotage the boat that he's working on, great. But if not, I think it's important that he gets out of there. Speaking of which, it's even worse than you realize, Cavus. And I'm going to probably walk over to Grell and ask for the letter.
And yeah, I fish it out of my pocket and hand it to him, of course.
And once I have it, I hand it to Cavus, and I just kind of say, like, he already knows we're here.
And you can see him, like, scanning it with his eyes. Pretty quick reader. And just a few moments pass, and he says, interesting. That's a bold play.
And Tessin is like, in defense of you and your detectives, I suspect we may have only found her because of the letter.
And Cavus nods. He says, if it's how you describe it, would seem to be that he wanted her to be found. But I don't know what that means, nor do I understand the end of it. And he's kind of thinking for a moment, and you see him go back to his ear, and you've seen this once before. He has some kind of earpiece. Looks like kind of like an earring of sorts. And he goes up to touch it, and he says, I want someone, preferably a good-sized group of you, dispatched to the warehouses on the docks immediately. Well, I don't know what this is about either, but you're right. If let's just say that the intelligence about Faust Dryden is squirrely in nature, but either he's been slipping recently or he's grown so bold and cavalier as not to care. Either way, this is beyond anything I've seen from him to this point.
My hope is he's throwing me a power play to show how in control he is and how much he doesn't care about my meddling. I'm afraid it's more sinister than that, but I hope it's not.
Was he prone to this kind of gamesmanship before?
I only recently found out this other side of him, to be honest. This gamesmanship is completely new to me. I've heard stories, but I'm experiencing it firsthand here. Well, and his lackey from the other day, but I'm sure your guards informed you of that little encounter as well.
Yes, yes, they did. I was prepared to yell at you some more when you first came in here, based on what had been described to me. But to be fair, it was not really your fault in the first place, and seeing what you've accomplished, it would be reckless of me to criticize now. That said, it all does seem kind of dangerous, and again, the intel we have, there's always something going on with Faust Dryden, but the public-facing part is the tricky part to crack. And even if we hear rumors or whispers that he's up to something untoward, you can't move on a man that powerful without having something definitive. And that has eluded us to this point.
Unfortunately, we, other than testimony from this girl, we have no hard evidence. They left nothing behind that we could tell in the house. It was at the back of a store, and they were careful.
Well, my recommendation to you would be to be as safe as you can, to watch each other's backs, to protect the girl. She's been through enough already. I will have Crusaders check out the docks area, see what they can find, see if they can find anything about Keith. I may be able to get word to you within a day or two. These things usually take some time, especially if you want to be thorough, but I can at least have my men canvass the city in those areas and see what turns up.
Please do me a favor, and you're already doing so much, and we're grateful, but keep an eye on Aurora. She was connected to all of this. She's another engineer like Dumas, who's under my father's thumb, and Keith is her husband who was taken. I'm scared to think what they've done to him, but please watch out for her as well.
And he kind of nods. He's like, that fits with some of the information I have as well. We were aware of somewhat of this project that was happening down by the docks, but again, when you hear rumors of a hostage situation, you can't do anything too hasty, and as such, we really wanted to make sure we knew exactly what was happening before we acted. That said, I will do my best for her. She, too, has been put in a situation that she did not belong in, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm getting tired of the populace of Aramea being put in these situations. I am... doing things by the book comes with its limitations. It's why I granted you some of the autonomy I did in your pursuit, because you can do things in a way that I can't. But I'm getting awfully tired of having to do things the way I do.
I feel you. And it's the most downtrodden, fucking tired I feel you that you've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Tessian kind of continues. Along those lines, I think it's best that we expedite ourselves from this city as quickly as possible. If he's willing to open up gunfire into crowds in order to take us out, we are just endangering everyone here until we leave.
And he kind of nods. He says, I do think that would be wise. I mean, if it was just today in isolation, that could be one thing. There are places we could stash you for a while, but when you couple it with what happened yesterday, it does seem like this is dangerous both for you and the populace of the city.
This little game your father is trying to run, and Tessian looks to Isaac, he goes, is bound to get people hurt if we're not careful. We do need to keep that in mind moving forward.
You're right. And now you see what drives me so to stop whatever he's doing. With that said, I think it wouldn't hurt for us to take a little side journey away from the cities, go embark on this Conatus, kind of get under his radar for a little bit.
Cavus kind of nods too. He says, makes sense. Anything you can do to be off the beaten path for a while, at least till this blows over, probably a smart decision.
Cavus, while you're here, what do we do about her? And I kind of gesture over to Sophia. If her father's not going to meet us in Harnstead, we're going to be embarking on a journey. It's going to be dangerous. There's no place for a child.
He says, well, I don't think under any circumstances you should bring her with you. Not that you couldn't protect her to some degree, but it's, like you said, no place for someone who has no training, no skills to embark on a journey such as that. If you are not able to reunite her with her father, perhaps the Duchess of Harnstead would be able to help in some way.
Okay.
Tessian does nod and says, I agree. I think we should take her to Hansed, keep an eye on her, and if we cannot get a hold of her father, we'll make our decision from there.
It's definitely more out of the way than here, and I trust the Duchess. She terrifies me, but I trust her.
And even Cavus kind of gives just the slightest of a grin, the first you've really ever seen from him, and he goes, she terrifies me a little bit too. But I do believe she's one of the few nobles on this side of the continent who can be trusted.
Tessian has a smile of admiration. He is not afraid of her. He likes
He
her.
wants to bang. No, not really.
Right.
Well, maybe. I don't
He
know.
wishes.
Yeah.
He's not that good.
At this point, Cavus's look kind of softens a bit. He says, I wish you the best in your travels. This is not an enviable situation. I think you've noticed by now that, at the very least, some crusader or another is never too far away. So if something else were to come up, if you could find someone that they can assist you immediately, or they can start to get word to someone who can. Our network is spread across this continent, and we are plentiful in number, but still, there's a limitation to how much any one person can do. But that said, if there is ever anything else, please don't hesitate to let us know. We're going to do the best we can. We'll see what we can find out in the city, how much we can pursue this, if there's any more loose ends that we can pick up on that might actually give us a thread that leads back to Faustridon, but I suspect, as in past encounters, that will not be the case. But in any case, we will do the best we can, and hopefully that's at least some reassurance.
I give like a world weary nod and kind of like pat him on his chest, which is probably way too like informal, but I'm way beyond that, and just like, thank you, Cavus, and I walk over to the girl.
He does look down, but he doesn't say anything. But he does, like, he watches, his hand tracks you as it hits him. He just kind of goes, and then he kind of like nods to himself. He lets it go.
This is, I guess, almost sort of a question for you, Chris.
Hi.
The things they have in their ear. I mean, Tessian could obviously be like, hey, why don't you give us one of those? But, like, would he know that those are rare enough that they wouldn't do that? Or...
Make an Arcana check.
Because that would certainly be helpful
Make
for
a
letting him know
persuasion
things.
check.
Make a which article of clothing will you remove check.
12 Arcana.
You're at least familiar with the concept behind them. They are pretty uncommon, and from the use that you saw him do with it last time, this also covers a range that seems to be wider than what you've typically understood about these things. So you know intrinsically that asking about it's probably not going to go super well.
Okay, then he doesn't say anything.
Are they like baby stones of far speech or something? That's cool.
It's sort of like that, but there's also a technological element.
Oh,
It's another one of the things in this world that's a hybrid of technology and magic.
it's cool.
And Tessian's probably the most familiar with all those, although Isaac has some ends on it, but his are more of the weapon side.
And then that's it. Tessian will just, he won't even, I don't know, he'd be polite. He'd extend his hand to say thank you. It's always been a pleasure, even if the circumstances would deem otherwise. And I hope we never see you again. But I'm sure we will.
Yeah, Cavus laughs. He's like, somehow I severely doubt that.
And Tessian's like, unfortunately, as much as I enjoy your presence.
Well, remember, no more dead bodies. Best you can, yes?
And Tessian's like, well, I don't think it's me you have to worry about, but yes.
It's kind of he's giving like a knowing look of like, I just don't want to see a repeat of what happened where we found that guy in a tunnel. He talked about that last time. You know where he's getting at.
So
Yeah.
if I walk over to Grail and Sophia, are you guys like talking? What's happening?
I'm showing her my banjo.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm like kind of playing a few things and like kind of like seeing if she wants to try it.
She appears interested in the music, does not appear interested in trying it.
Okay, well then I take that cue and I just kind of like keep playing like probably a popular like song, like maybe even like a kid song that I may have learned, and it's like like for babies, but like like a popular like lullaby or something. And I'm just gonna play it and see if it, I don't know, distracts her.
It is a positive distraction overall. She is paying attention. She seems to enjoy it to some extent. There are also moments where she seems to kind of drift out of it a bit.
Yeah.
But overall, it's working. So, Isaac, as you come across, Grail's playing music, Crash is there, things are happening.
I'm sitting beside them, chewing on my rhubarb and just looking around the room with the most intimidating glare I could put on anybody who even looks in the direction of the child.
Crash is in like serious protect mode.
So I put my hand on Grail's shoulder and I kind of lean down, kneel down, so I'm kind of like crouching eye level with Sophia, and I say, how are you doing, Sophia?
She says, better. I am grateful to be anywhere but there for now. I sure would like to be home.
We're going to work on that, I promise you. You remind me a lot of my little sister, Sophia. She's about your age as well, and I take out my pocket watch. Pocket watch. That's the name of that thing. and I show her like a picture of her, and I say, "See, she has similar features too." I'm just trying to like, I don't know, take her mind off it a little bit.
All of it seems to be working again to some extent. There's a certain part of her that you just don't seem to be able to reach at times, and I don't even have to describe to you why that is. No. Overall, she seems grateful for the distractions, and she is engaging to some degree, but there's also just a part of her that remains kind of distant the whole time.
Yeah, she's not a kid. Like, she's not a kid that's going to get distracted by something shiny. She's like 12.
Yeah,
no, we're just trying to keep her mind up. We're like, let's talk about your father. Like, I mean, that's not going to work either. Let's make her feel bad. So I'm just trying to be friendly. And to make her trust us. I mean, if we're trying to get onto her level, then, I think that goes a long way with kids.
Does she seem to, I mean, so yeah, she's not going to be like, ooh, shiny, but like, does she seem to like it or like, well, I think you kind of just said she's kind of like, she's receptive, but also like,
yeah, well, she gives it the time of day, partly because of interest and partly because of trying to be polite. But again, like, periodically as you're talking to her, you just see that she's sort of like got that 1,000-yard stare off in the distance. And then she'll like, drift back in after a few seconds and be back to like nodding and engaging.
Dunask is Genasi, right? Can we tell that she is?
She is not from the looks of it.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing the picture. We know you said it wasn't, but I wasn't sure if maybe, she'd aged, if we could see anything.
Seemingly human.
Huh. Okay.
Well, once Dustin's done saying his polite goodbyes, he'll rejoin the group and just be like, "Well, let's get going."
And I tell Sophia, just tell her the plan, and I say, I have a sister who's like you, so I want you to know I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you're safe and that you're reunited with your father, and I hope you can trust me.
She perks up a little bit at this, and she says, I hope so too. I don't want to be disparaging. I'm happy that you've done what you've done. It's a sight better than where I was. For the last 18 months, I'm not real big on promises from anyone.
I understand. Well, we're going to take care of you, and with that said, we're going to get out of this godforsaken city. We're going to head to Harnstead, and you're going to travel with us, and we're going to take the next step there for figuring out how to best take care of you and get you out of this situation.
She nods. She says, I will be happy to leave this place behind me. And Harnstead is at least closer to home, so let's do it.
This piece, when I... does she seem skittish and afraid, or is she kind of fine? Like,
not especially skittish, although she is still glancing about periodically as if she's looking for something that's not there. Just more weary.
Okay.
Like, even this is now basically more conversation than she's had in the last 18 months, so at this point she's already kind of burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because if, from your understanding of the guards, well, that was different with Aurora. That was more of a security check-in, but still, like, they're not especially talkative or friendly.
Sure.
So she's not had a lot of human interaction or other race interaction.
Okay, well, I give her hand a squeeze, and I get up and I say, "Yes, Tessian, let's get out of here."
And Tessia nods, and then he's like, "Oh!" And then he turned back to Cavis real quick, trying to catch him before he leaves, if he was. And he's like, "Cavis, one more thing, a small favor, if you could." He's like, "There's a duel going on today. If you could just let us know who the winner is, it might be important later."
He seems a bit perplexed by this, but he shrugs. He's like, "Sure, why not?"
And Tessian's like, "One of the men in the duel is intimately aware of our group?" That sounds wrong. "He's well aware of what we're doing, and I think it may be in our best interest to make sure that... Well, to make sure that we know what happens to him at the very least."
Well, we're going to be spread a little thin, but it certainly won't be hard to find out a victor, so I can do that, sure.
And he's like, "Thank you."
And he kind of... he falls down. Whoa! He kind of actually leans in a little bit to you, Tessian. And he kisses you on the neck. And he says... Are you
I'm awake!
Yeah, exactly. And he says, Are you in such shape that you need an escort? I intend to head down to the docks to assist, but...
And Tessian kind of looks over our group, and he's just like, "I think we'll be fine. At least, I think we'll be fine."
And he kind of nods, and he looks over the group as well. He says, "Well, you've handled yourself well to this point. If anything else comes up, you'll know where to send word at the very least."
Tessian nods. He's like, "You've done more than anyone else could in your shoes, I imagine. Thank you again."
He shakes his head kind of. He's like, "Well, I appreciate it, but it ain't enough." And he leaves.
And then we leave, and there's an awkward moment where we're walking out
Right.
together.
Door, you try and both go through. No, you first. No, you.
Oh, it's awfully
Canadian
chilly
standoff.
outside today.
Yeah, Cavis, pretty broad-shouldered. It's hard to fit through with him at the same time.
"Oh, you go." "No, yeah, you go." "Oh, it's fine."
So you guys basically can hop on a trolley, make your way back to the center of town. You have to get off because it doesn't go through the middle ring, but at the very least, you're closer to where the entrance is to Lorton Keep, where the transportation sigils are all gathered in that one central area that you first came into. For the sake of time, it's easy enough to get a hold of somebody, explain the situation. They were already made aware by the Duchess to some extent. She essentially gets back word within about 5 minutes that it's fine to use it. So unless you guys have anything else you want to do, teleportation circle is ready for Harnstead and waiting for you.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
So you guys step inside that kind of smaller chamber with the big, lavish, elaborate sigil on the ground. And there's that moment of brief sickishness again, where your stomachs kind of drop briefly. And even before your eyes have time to refocus, you are back inside the Duchess's chambers. And that is where we'll leave off this time. So, group has a girl. They're back in Harnstead. Some things have happened. And we'll see what the next step is next time on the Anachroschism.
Bye.